Hi, welcome. Today we're going to speak about 10 things that will really help you master your business English. And, if you're feeling anxious or frustrated about, going to the next level in business English and wanting to look professional, I think this will really help you put things in context. And the first thing actually has to do with context. It's about understanding the difference between formal and informal in conversations. And I'm a courtroom lawyer, so even at court, where you would expect everything to be a formal conversation, that's not true. There's different conversations when waiting outside the courtroom, which are very informal with my client. Usually, I'll be on very good terms with my client, so we'll be talking about soccer or we'll be laughing about something just to pass the time. So you have to really understand in a formal conversation, it'll be a lot more curt, it'll be a lot colder, and certain things are just pleasantries. A lot less words are spoken. It's like, think of things like good afternoon, how are you, best regards. It's a lot more cold and there's a lot less to say. It's a lot less expressive. Yeah, and when we're talking informally, people are saying things like, "Hey, what's up? How are you?" There's a difference in that there's nothing actually up. And there's a difference between the literal aspect and the figurative aspect. So, words matter more formally and they don't matter almost at all sometimes informally. So slang and expressions, from the street, they're more appropriate with informal conversations, with closer friends, with people you have a rapport with. So you can have informal conversations in a professional context, but slang is almost never appropriate in a business conversation unless you've got a great rapport with your client and your close friends or something like that. Now, the second thing I want you to keep in mind is you know a lot more English than you think or that you realize. English is so popular because of culture and movies and music. So definitely be encouraged because you will know more English just because of culture and your past than I will, let's say, know of Spanish. I don't know a lot of Spanish words just because the culture didn't reach me in the way that English probably reached you. So definitely be encouraged knowing that you can tap into what you already know that you grew up seeing, and it should be easier. The third thing to keep in mind is that if you're speaking business English to people who speak English as a first language, is we don't care if you make mistakes. I mean, what you should be relaxed because then you'll make less mistakes. If you're afraid, you'll clench up and you'll be worried about making a mistake. And then if you do, you'll be upset about making the mistake. And then you'll frighten us away. So if you're more relaxed and realize that you're probably harder on yourself than we are on you. So that will help a lot. You will make less mistakes, and we really don't care. I know some people might, like, let's say if I was, even when I went to France speaking French, I mean, the French didn't even care. So, I mean, what matters more to us is if we're in a hurry and you can't get your point across, that's one thing. So just keep in mind, if you're worried about making a mistake, just focus on getting the message across. That will be a lot more productive for you, and it'll also be what makes you have more friends, or just your conversations will flow so much better. And then have a lot of fun with it. I mean, making mistakes is funny. And so if you can laugh at the mistake, then you'll have a lot more fun learning, and then you'll make a lot more friends, and you'll be able to practice more because English speaking people will want to talk to you. Everyone likes to laugh. So I think that can really be what holds people back, is they're afraid to make mistakes and they're afraid to laugh at themselves, and they're afraid of how they sound. We're going to talk about accents in a moment, but not before we talk about this. Something you can do is just immerse yourself as much as you can. Try speaking in English, online, in person, as much as you can, especially to people who don't speak Spanish. So I'm fluent in French and I'm fluent in Spanish. If I'm talking to people who only speak French and Spanish, like if they don't speak English, there's no way out then. I personally think that watching a lot of movies, listening to a lot of music, trying to write in English, all of that was very helpful. Myself in learning Spanish, I listen to audiobooks, and I'll talk about that more later. I've also heard that watching children's programming, now I know this is business English, but it's a way to start because a lot of the way that things are spoken is more directly and more slowly. Personally, I also use games like Anki, Duolingo, and Brainscape, and they are ways of learning languages that is presented in a way where you move up levels and they test you. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. The fifth thing I want you to keep in mind is when you figure out whatever you're figuring out, you're having the hardest time with. Focus on that so it becomes less important and everything else becomes more easy. So if you're having a hard time with, let's say, the speed of speech, I'm speaking quickly, this is a higher end video. Um, if you can work and make progress on what's hard, everything else will seem a lot easier. Personally, the speed of Spanish is what was hard for me. So I listened to about 5 audiobooks in Spanish. I listened to Don Quixote. I had no idea what was happening for most of it. And now I can listen to very fast Spanish and it doesn't overwhelm me. Spanish has become a lot more easy because I know the grammar and I can discern the different words coming out at a faster speed. Now, I said I was going to speak about accents. Now, a lot of people are embarrassed about their accent. And again, like we don't really care. For the most part, people will be more interested in your accent than critical of it. If you're from somewhere that's far away, if it's exotic, people will be interested in it. For only a very small amount of people is their accent actually bad or repelling to people. For the most part, usually accents are a great conversation starter. And this is also, like I said earlier, your accent's less important than if you can speak and understand the fundamentals of the language. So if you have great composure, if you've got a great deal, if you're business English, because you're trying to make a deal and your deal is good, your company is solid, your reputation is good, your ability to speak, which is under your control, is a lot more important than the way that you sound if it's your accent. People usually love foreign accents because they're exotic. People love my accent when I go places, and they love that I can speak their language, and it sounds different. It sounds exotic. I've had some people laugh at my French accent, but that's just one girl, and it wasn't bad. Again, if you can laugh at it, it really is to your advantage because it didn't hurt my feelings, and we became very friendly. Number 7, record yourself speaking English to hear your own mistakes. So, for example, you can make a video like this and then play it back and listen for when you make mistakes. Now, this is very difficult. I imagine if you do this, you'll be horrified by how you sound, by the way that you speak. Even in this video, I made some mistakes, but this will help you if you need to be able to speak well in meetings, if you impress clients in person or over the internet like this. Definitely record yourself and watch, let's say, the speeches or things you'll have to say to clients or to other businesses. Now, the number 8 thing I want to talk about is this is applicable for if you're writing, like let's say you're writing an email or you've got to write something else, whatever, in English, and you're not sure about how it sounds or if it comes across correctly or if it's clear or if it makes sense. I would say that once it's written and it's edited, say it out loud and see if it sounds right. It's a great trick, and I think I didn't write all of this, but if it sounds right, it probably is written correctly. Now, the 9th is people will appreciate you or appreciate that you're trying, and they will help you so long as they're not in a rush. This is kind of similar to earlier where English-speaking people, we're not prudish. Like if you're trying and you're getting your point across, and for the most part, I mean, this is business English, so you're probably at a high level here. If you're making a few mistakes, it's not a big deal. People appreciate that you're trying, and everyone makes mistakes. This wasn't even perfect. I'm supposed to be teaching business English. But the trick is you have to try. You have to put in the effort, you have to give value, and you have to show up. And so long as you do that, people will give you the benefit of the doubt, unless unless you don't hit a certain threshold. And even then, often your biggest failures will propel you forward. Now, the last piece here will help you get over that threshold and make you an excellent business speaker, speaker of business English, and that's to read English business publications. Now, if you're in a specific industry, there's specific books, journals, articles, especially financial articles, business articles. Read anything in English specific to your industry. If you're in technology, read about what Microsoft and Apple and all the technology giants are doing. Know how to say all the buzzwords for your industry, and then you won't be surprised. You don't want to be caught asking what something is if it's something very important to the business. So definitely keep that in mind. But with these 10 realizations, if you really take them to heart, if you know that you're further along than you maybe thought, that you've got reasons to be confident, you can really go to the next level. And especially in this job market, it's a great time for you to become an excellent speaker of English, because it is the world's language. It is the language of business. And with these resources, you can get to the next level and you can speak professional business English. All you got to do is the right things and put in the work. Thanks. Goodbye.